gatanu n'igice kimwe FM.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi, news in English.
You are tuned to Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. Rwanda is in talks with a host of nations to help develop its space capabilities. Rwanda has reacted to concerns raised over recently entered partnership to receive asylum seekers from the UK. Dozens of refugees and migrants in Tunisia are demanding evacuation to other countries. Now the news in detail. Rwanda is in talks with a host of nations to help develop its space capabilities in possible deals that will potentially add impetus to the country's information and communication technology ambitions. According to Minister Paula Ingabire, the Minister of ICT and Innovations, the country's space ambitions have attracted interest from countries such as Japan, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates. The proposed mid to long-term partnerships with these countries range from the use of geospatial data to the design and manufacturing of satellites. Rwanda and Israel signed an agreement in 2020, effectively laying the grounds for pursuing this cooperation. And in 2019, Rwanda and Japan teamed up to build the first Cube satellite, which was launched from Japan's Tanegashima Space Center and deployed to the low Earth orbit from International Space Station. The satellite has antennas alongside two multispectral cameras on board, which communicate with deployed ground sensors. The satellite helps the government to monitor water resources, natural disasters, agriculture, and meteorology. Under the partnership with Japan, Ingabire disclosed that currently 20 Rwandans are being trained in the design and production of mini satellites. These are some of the latest in a series of initiatives that the country has launched to bolster the contribution of the ICT and innovation sector to the gross domestic product. With the newly created space agency, many efforts have been invested in capacity building in light of the country's space ambition. In October 2021, Rwanda Space Agency filed a request to acquire two satellite constellations from the International Telecommunication Union, namely Cinnamon 217 and Cinnamon 937. Ingabire said the number had actually increased to 7 of them, in that a beta launch is scheduled in May this year, while the full launch of the satellite constellations is expected by the end of 2023. A satellite constellation is a group of satellites working together as a system. Unlike a single satellite, a constellation can provide permanent global and near global coverage. This afternoon, the Vice Mayor in charge of urbanization and infrastructure in the city of Kigali, Mered Mhabwanamaguru, participated in a webinar session organized by UN Habitat in the inauguration of Urban Innovation Series on how to make innovation a transformative force in cities. The Urban Innovation Series is a new series of conversations, discussions and exchanges hosted by UN Habitat's Innovation Unit with the purpose of highlighting UN Habitat's work on innovation and bringing together experts and thought leaders from multiple disciplines to discuss urban innovation, frontier technology, digital transformation, urban data governance, smart cities. It contributes to making UN Habitat a center of excellence through innovation. Vice Mayor Mered said cities need to innovate to survive. Innovative solutions need to be scalable, replicable, and capable of being adapted in a variety of specific urban environments. The fact that technology plays a significant role in the development of smart cities, satisfying citizens through easy service delivery and providing a better living environment for Kigali citizens is the primary smart cities goal. Genocide survivors in Ndera sector of Gasabo district have requested the government to fast-track the process to accord decent burial to an estimated 17,000 genocide victims who were killed in the surroundings of Ndera Neuropsychiatric Hospital. The facility is a referral hospital for neuropsychiatric disorders or mental disorders, which was established in 1968 by the Brothers of Charity, an international religious congregation in partnership with the Catholic Church. During 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, thousands of patients and workers at the hospital, as well as other Tutsi who had sought refuge in hospital, were killed. Felix Ingenzi, the representative of families whose loved ones were killed in Ndera, said that victims were dumped in a 30-meter hole that had been dug near the facility. Although there is a memorial site, he said the remains have never been given a decent burial. Residents of Akamashama village in Rukomo sector, Nyagatare district, say they have not been able to acquire land titles since settling there 11 years ago, and that authorities have told them they do not have rights to the lands. They claim that this issue is impeding their development because they are unable to lease the lands in order to obtain loans to invest in development projects. Gasana Stephen, the mayor of Nyagatare district, says they are aware of the issue and have formed a team to investigate it. The United Nations World Food Programme has welcomed a contribution of $5.5 million from the United States through USAID's Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance to provide cash transfers to refugees living in all 5 camps in Rwanda. Thanks to the generosity of the United States, the organization will provide 114,153 refugees from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi with critical nutrition support in the form of cash transfers. The organization uses cash transfers to empower people with choice to address their essential needs by purchasing goods from the local markets while also helping to boost these markets. Commenting on the development, Edith Haynes, World Food Programme representative and country director, welcomed the contribution. She noted that this contribution will enable the organization to continue providing life-saving food assistance and social and behavior change communication activities which promote positive nutrition behaviors amongst refugees. However, despite this new funding, the World Food Programme is still not able to provide full rations to meet the minimum food requirements for refugees. Following chronic funding shortfalls, the organization introduced a prioritization scheme in May 2021, a system under which refugees are given rations according to their levels of vulnerability. Rwanda has reacted to concerns raised over recently entered partnership to receive asylum seekers from UK. Rwanda and the UK recently signed the Economic Development Partnership on Thursday, 14th April 2022. The partnership will see Rwanda accommodating asylum seekers staying in UK illegally. The development came at a time when deep global inequalities are driving millions of people from their homes in search of opportunity, at the same time as millions are forcibly displaced by conflict, persecution, and other threats to safety. Under this program, the UK will provide an upfront investment of €120 million to fund invaluable opportunities for Rwandans and migrants, including secondary qualifications, vocational and skills training, language lessons, and higher education. Following the agreement, some people, the majority of whom being from the western part of the world, expressed concerns over the partnership. Among them is the leader of the Anglican Church, who strongly criticized the British government's plan to put some asylum seekers on one-way flights to Rwanda, saying subcontracting out our responsibilities to refugees can't stand up to God's scrutiny. His words triggered mixed reactions among politicians, including the UK Home Secretary Priti Patel, who asked him to suggest a solution to the issue of migrants and asylum seekers in Europe. The spokesperson of the government of Rwanda, Yolande Makolo, has said that people doubting about Rwanda's capacity to accommodate refugees should visit the country to witness its remarkable progress achieved over the past 28 years. She highlighted that Rwanda has made tremendous progress in every aspect of development on rights, freedom, media, as the country remains stable, united, and continues to grow very rapidly. Makolo was speaking during an interview with GB News, a television and radio news channel in the United Kingdom, commenting on human rights concerns raised following recent migration and economic development partnership between Rwanda and UK. We shall continue some items of international news after the advertisement.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
President Samia Suluhu Hassan has for the first time spoken out on the experience of shooting the documentary Tanzania Royal Tour, saying she did not expect the film to come out the way it did. Speaking immediately after the premiere of the documentary on Monday, April 18th, at the Guggenheim Museum in New York, the president said one of the parts that she found very exciting was the tour guiding. According to her, many and torturous long hours went into the making of the film to the extent that they would miss lunch and have late dinner. President Samia also revealed to the audience that it was the first time that she had driven a car after almost 15 years. She also said one of Tanzania's treasures that surprises every visitor is the great deal of hospitality and the warmth of the people. The premiere is said to move to the West on Thursday, April 21st in Los Angeles, California, where the screening will be held at the Paramount Pictures studio. Business leaders have voiced their concern about skyrocketing air transport costs in the East African Community region. They have called for a thorough review of aviation taxes, levies and charges so as to make them affordable to air transport users. The East African Business Council, an apex body of the private sector associations, is spearheading appeals for urgent intervention. Deeply concerned by the exorbitant fares, taxes, fees and charges, the Arusha-based body will commission experts to work on the issue. They will scan through the regulations on aviation taxes, levies and charges on the cost of doing business in the East African community. Agriculture workers in Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia are preparing for their worst severe drought in 40 years. This occurs as authorities warn that higher temperatures and less than normal rainfall were recorded by weather agencies in March and April this year. The aggravating drought is threatening to throw the population, especially in arid and semi-arid areas, into starvation. Like most of Africa, the East and the Horn's economic mainstay is agriculture, which is rain-fed, making it vulnerable to extreme weather events. According to the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, rains will likely fail for a fourth consecutive year, triggering fears of increased cases of malnutrition, threats to livelihoods, and severe risks for 29 million people in the region. Militant group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for Monday's mortar attack on Somalia's parliament. According to officials and eyewitnesses, a single mortar shell landed at the entrance of parliamentary building while the joint parliamentary session was in progress, exploding and injuring several people, including security guards and civilian officials. Following reports of the attack, the United Nations mission in Somalia issued a statement condemning the attack. Dozens of refugees and migrants in Tunisia are demanding evacuation to other countries. The refugees, mostly survivors of illegal immigration attempts by sea to Europe, have been staging a sit-in in front of the office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in the Tunisian capital, Tunis, since Saturday. Equipped with blankets, the refugees, many of whom are women and children, spent the night on cardboard boxes spread out on the ground amid suitcases containing their personal belongings. Israel carried out its first airstrikes on the Gaza Strip in months early Tuesday in response to a rocket fired from the Palestinian enclave as tensions soared after a weekend of violence around a Jerusalem holy site. Warning sirens sounded in southern Israel Monday night after the rocket was fired from the enclave controlled by the Islamist group Hamas, the first such incident since early January. Global finance leaders are concerned over food insecurity and skyrocketing food prices. Members of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank meeting in Washington are discussing the effects of Russia's war against Ukraine. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen convened a meeting this Tuesday morning with leaders of the IMF, World Bank, Group of 7 and Group of 20 global organizations to call on international financial institutions to accelerate their response to countries affected by food issues worsened by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia and Ukraine produce 14% of the world's wheat supply, according to the United Nations, and the loss of commodities due to the war has resulted in soaring food prices and uncertainty about the future of food security globally, especially in impoverished countries. The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization Food Price Index has made its biggest jump since its inception in 1990, reflecting an all-time high in the cost of vegetable oils, cereals and meat. A late March report from the organization stated that the global number of undernourished people could increase by 8 million to 13 million people into 2023, with the most pronounced increases taking place in Asia Pacific, followed by Sub-Saharan Africa and the Near East and North Africa. If the war lasts, impacts will go well beyond 2023. Experts are calling upon global financial leaders to put in place a system that helps the people who need it the most, which includes a focus on those countries that are struggling to pay for things like bread for their people in light of the increase in commodities prices.
Are you looking for the best language interpreting services for your next meeting, training workshop, or forum, in person or remotely? Look no further. Gemini Multimedia Limited offers high-quality and professional interpreting and document translation services in various fields of expertise. Based on the International Association of Conference Interpreters, AIC, and with a team of professionals with more than 10 years of experience in the field, you can rely on us for a smooth running of your next event. Locate Gemini Multimedia Limited on KG14 Avenue 258 between Kagugu Health Center and Fawe Girls School. You can also call us on 0790-719-909 or visit www.geminimultimedia.org. Gemini Multimedia Limited. Speak clearly. Listen reliably.
Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. Moving on ahead with the Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 2,392,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in one deal on the fixed income market and 300,000 from 1,200 shares traded in one deal on the equities market. Bank of Kigali counter closed at 250 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 300,000 Rwandan francs from 1,200 shares traded in one deal. Bredgwa closed the counter at 150 Rwandan francs. I&M Bank counter at 44 Rwandan francs. Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs. MTN Rwanda at 180 Rwandan francs. Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs. Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs. National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs. Uchumi Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs. And RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.7 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 8.9 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.49 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.28 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.29 Rwandan francs. Burundian franc buying price was 0.43 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.5 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buying price was 1,009 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,029 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,311 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,337 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,087 Rwandan francs. The selling price was 1,109 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.